What if tonight, the sky exploded, no warning, no countdown, just a flash, and a city disappears? Different space agencies like NASA, ESA, the Chinese Space Agency, and Japan's Space Agency are constantly monitoring the area around Earth, so that if a large meteor or asteroid is heading toward Earth, they find out early, and maybe they can do something about it. But when an asteroid actually hits Earth, what happens? What effects does it have? We've talked a lot about earthquakes, storms, floods, and tsunamis, but we've never really talked about the effects of this kind of natural disaster, because it hasn't happened. An asteroid impact is very rare. Once, during the time of the dinosaurs, it happened, and that was the end of them. But believe it or not, one also hit Earth fairly recently, not an ordinary meteor. The kind that hits here and there every day. An asteroid hit Earth. It was about 60 meters long. In this video, we're going to talk about the Tunguska event. We said that many rocks enter Earth's atmosphere, most of them burn up, and never reach the ground. Some of the ones that do reach Earth, about 90% of them fall into the oceans. That's why it's rare for anyone to get hurt. Just 12 years ago, in 2013, a small 20-meter asteroid entered Earth's atmosphere and came straight down over the skies of Russia. You might not believe it, but that 20-meter asteroid weighed 13,000 tons. Just imagine it. A 13,000-ton flaming rock falling from the sky. It's 2013. A time when almost everyone has a mobile phone, and every phone has a camera. That's why, from every angle you can imagine, there is footage of this object. The region of Russia where the asteroid entered was Chelyabinsk Oblast. Oblast means province. Fortunately, this meteor never reached the ground before it could hit Earth, at about 30 kilometers above the surface. Because of the intense heat caused by friction, it suddenly exploded. An explosion with a power of 500 kilotons. For comparison, the Hiroshima bomb was 15 kilotons. That means this explosion was more than 30 times stronger. The windows of buildings in more than 6 cities in Chelyabinsk Oblast were completely shattered and fell to the ground. Fortunately, no one was killed, but more than 2,000 people were injured. All of them were hurt by broken glass, because they were standing behind windows, watching. The explosion happened 30 kilometers above Earth and caused more than $30 million in damage to Russia. The exact number, $33 million. Most of that cost was for windows and glass. What's interesting is that this was the largest asteroid to enter Earth's atmosphere in the 21st century. So, did a large meteor hit Earth in the 20th century too? Yes. In 1908. Where, of course, Russia. It seems these meteors really like Russia, or maybe it's just because the country is so vast that sooner or later, one of them ends up there. On June 30th, 1908, when this land was still the Russian Empire, and Tsar Nicholas II was ruling. Near the Tunguska River, suddenly, a sun lit up on Earth. A huge area, roughly the size of Luxembourg, about 2,500 square kilometers, was turned into charcoal. A massive explosion that instantly flattened an enormous region. Those who saw it from far away said, it was as if a sun ignited on Earth. Fortunately, around the Tunguska River, which flows through the deep forests of Siberia, no people lived there, only wildlife. Scientists estimate the power of this explosion at 12 megatons. That's 12 million tons. This was the most powerful explosion in human history before 1954. In that year, the United States tested the Castle Bravo hydrogen bomb with a power of 15 megatons. The explosion of that American hydrogen bomb shows us just how powerful the Tunguska asteroid explosion really was. And no matter how you describe it, you have to say this. You may not believe it, but when that meteor exploded, about 60 million trees in the Siberian forest were knocked down, destroyed, and set on fire at the same moment. You might ask, where does the number 60 million come from? Very simple. Scientists calculated it because the forests in this region of Siberia are among the densest in the world. By calculating the destroyed area and the tree density, you get the number. Most of the bodies found after the explosion did not belong to humans, they belonged to reindeer, known in English as reindeer. There are no exact statistics for how many were killed. Russia doesn't have reliable data in this area, especially for the year 1908. But it's estimated that thousands of reindeer died. Even though geological instruments were not advanced at the time, scientists were still able to determine Theta 5.5 magnitude earthquake occurred at the moment of the explosion. Fortunately, this terrifying asteroid exploded in a place where humans lived hundreds of kilometers away. Just imagine, if it had come down over a populated area, what kind of catastrophe it would have caused. Of course, if you ask the trees or the reindeer, they would say it was a huge disaster, but at least, humans narrowly escaped this one. Imagine Tunguska hitting a city. There are many cities today with populations of 7 or 8 million that could have been in its path. Moscow, St. Petersburg, or on the other side, Tokyo, Seoul, Beijing, Shanghai, and many others. For example, if that meteor had hit this year, in 2025, near the Tunguska River, it wouldn't make much difference. That area still isn't heavily populated, only the trees and the reindeer would suffer. But let's choose a well-known, densely populated city, for example, Tokyo. What would happen then? As we said, the area destroyed by the meteor was about the size of Luxembourg. Around 2,500 square kilometers. If we compare the size of Luxembourg to the city of Tokyo, Luxembourg is actually a bit larger. This shows that the explosion would have completely flattened Tokyo. About 14 million people would be buried under rubble, some might say, but Tokyo has 37 million people. To those people we should explain that 37 million includes Tokyo and its massive surrounding suburbs, the greater Tokyo metropolitan area. In the end, Tunguska exploded in a good place. Otherwise, it would have caused a disaster unprecedented in history. Also know this: Tunguska did not hit the ground, just like the Chelyabinsk meteor in 2013. It exploded before reaching Earth. Now you might think, if it had hit the ground, the disaster would have been bigger, right? No, if you've seen footage of the Hiroshima bomb, you know it was detonated about 600 meters above the ground. That's because the explosion force spreads outward, instead of going into the ground. The asteroid did exactly the same thing, just like nuclear bombs. It exploded due to friction before impact, destroying a much wider area. This was the largest asteroid of the modern era to reach Earth. Scientists say dangers like this threaten us about once every 100 years, compared to other natural disasters. It happens less frequently, but the danger is always there. You've probably seen the video about asteroid Apophis, the bomb heading toward Earth. Apophis is a 370-meter asteroid moving toward our planet. Scientists say that in about 4 years it will most likely pass at a distance of 32,000 kilometers. Some might say 32,000 kilometers is far, but for something like this, it's very close. For example, the moon is about 384,000 kilometers away, and it feels right next to us. So 32,000 kilometers is extremely close. At any moment, It could shift slightly and collide with Earth, and an impact from a 370-meter asteroid would mean the end of the world, just like the event that wiped the dinosaurs off the face of the Earth. And perhaps the most important point of this story is this: that danger is never really that far away, not in the sky, and not in some distant future that we live on a planet that has been challenged again and again by nature, sometimes by earthquakes, sometimes by storms, and sometimes by a silent rock coming from deep space. Tunguska showed us that destruction does not always arrive with a warning. Sometimes it's just a few seconds of light, and then everything changes. But this awareness, this science, and this constant monitoring of the sky are the only reasons we are still here. Maybe we can't stop everything, but we can avoid being caught off guard, and in a world where even one night being just 1 minute longer is a reason to celebrate, maybe it's worth it to value these moments a little more. Well, today's video is over. If you are interested in scientific topics, history, inventions, wars and discoveries, remember that this channel is for you, so subscribe and activate the bell.